we will be judged not on the basis of how much good we have done, but on the basis of how much love we have put into our work. In today's gospel, Jesus speaks about the parable of a master hiring laborers at different hours of the day. And at the end, the master pays all the laborers the same wages that was promised to the first one. So, by seeing this, the laborer that came first and received the same wages felt not right, and so he asked the master, "How is that you have paid everyone the same wages, even to the one that has worked only for an hour?" To this, the master answers him saying that, "Well, that's my freedom, it's my free choice, and it's my generosity. Why are you jealous about my generosity? I have not done any injustice to you. You are paid what you are agreed." So, my dear brothers and sisters, well, the explanation given by the master to this laborer, in that there may not be any injustice done because it was agreed by the two. But if we apply this parable to our life, especially in connection with our salvation, as we work towards our salvation, and this master happens to be God, and let us say all of us are laborers. So some have been working out our salvation for so many years. Some probably worked out for a few hours or a few days. And at the end, the reward, that's heaven, is given to all equally. How will those people who try to work out their salvation from the beginning? Definitely they will feel, well, that's not right. There's no justice there. So I struggle to understand what Jesus was trying to tell us. Yeah, we know God in His goodness, He can be generous and merciful to everybody. That's His choice. But those people who worked for so many years to attain their salvation, and those people for a little while they worked for their salvation, and everyone is given equal reward, we have a problem. So I was trying to understand what is there in this. Yes, my dear brothers and sisters, the laborers who worked right from the beginning of the day, and those laborers who worked for the last hours of the day, probably there is a difference of not of time and quantity, but I believe the difference of attitude. Those people who worked right from the beginning of the day probably worked with lethargy, with not good intention, half-heartedly, with grumbling. Whereas those people who worked for the last hours, they were interested in work. They put up all their efforts with good attitude, probably yearn with love. And Master probably observed the attitude, not the quantity of work they have done. And I believe Master has rewarded on the basis of the attitude of love. So my dear brothers and sisters, Mother Teresa says that we will be judged not on the basis of how much good we have done, but on the basis of how much love we have put into our work. And that is the difference. Yes, my dear brothers and sisters, we may be working so much for our salvation or for any other work, but our judgment is based on the love that we put. Our judgment is based on the attitudes that we have, with what attitudes we approach God, with what attitudes we approach our religion, our spirituality. And that, I believe, matters for God. It is not the quantity, the quality, and the right attitude. attitude of love. Because God is love, I believe He will judge us on the basis of love. That means how much we have put love in all the things that we do. Let us love and put love in our little works that we do. Amen.